Hi, my name is Mike Banta. I'm going to show you how to rewire a lamp. This is a fairly sort of standard table lamp, and what usually goes wrong with these things is the switch inside is usually the first thing to go bad. So it could sometimes be the wire. Normally I just change both. Once you have it apart, you might as well change both things. So lamps like this come with a variety of switch styles. You might have a pull chain socket, which is just on off, or you might have a push button. A lot of them are this kind of turn style. It has a knob that turns the switch inside the socket. So the first step to disassembling this thing is to get the cover off the socket. Now, of course, you're going to make sure that the lamp is unplugged before you start working. Once you do that, quite safe. This cover needs to be kind of squeezed and rocked to the side. There's no other fastening that holds it in there but that. And once you have that loose, you just set it aside. And we need to work some slack in the wire through the base. So I'll pull a little bit of extra here and give myself some working slack on the top by pulling the wire out. I like a stubby screwdriver. A regular screwdriver is fine too, but the stubby just gets me close up and I can use my fingertips just enough to get the wire off. Loosen that and pull the wire. Now this, you can often tell when it's bad, it doesn't click when you turn it. This one is actually still good, but if it turns with making no noise, it probably means the switch inside is broken. I would get rid of this one, buy a new one, and usually a new cord set. I think we'll just use this one to put back in the lamp, but you can buy a set like this from an online retailer or a local hardware store. These even come with the ends pre-twisted and tinned with solder, meaning coated with a little bit of solder, which keeps the wires from fraying. Not strictly necessary, but kind of a nice touch. So let's say you might even be starting with a wire that has no ends on it. Just like this. Now what I've just separated the molded plastic insulation there, where it's sort of made easy to pull apart, just to give myself two ends that can be stripped. Use a wire stripper that has different holes for different gauges of wire. And I know this is 18 gauge wire, so I find the hole on here that's marked 18 gauge and go 1/2 inch from the end. The stripper is sized so it just cuts through the insulation, not through the wire. And I pull, and a piece of bare wire is left, which then I twist clockwise if you're looking at it. So clockwise this way, conventionally, is how we always twist it up. Strip the other side, twist that one. And the twist really just keeps the wire from splaying out like a broom and getting caught on things and sticking you in the finger and that sort of thing. So this is pretty much prepared to go back in the lamp. You can do this after you've fed it through. I thought it would be easier to show this way. But then the thing not to forget is to go back through every hole that it came out of. So this lamp has what's called a bushing in the side, which protects the lamp where it goes through what could be a sharp edge of metal otherwise. So we're going to go through that first. Pull a good amount through, and then a lamp like this has a continuous hollow pipe that runs all the way up. It's threaded on the ends to tighten the whole lamp together, and that means that there's a smooth path for that wire to go. More complicated lamps sometimes have joints inside, and that's where things can get a little trickier. This one is quite straightforward. So just take the ends and push them together and just feed it in. It's possible with a tighter lamp, you might, or some various turns, you might have to fish a wire in from the other side and pull it out, but you can see it's come all the way through. And just separate those things that might need to be retwisted again. If they were soldered, they wouldn't come apart. But now the important thing here is to realize that it matters which way this plug goes in the socket. In fact, in the US now with polarized plugs, it can only go in one way. And there are, by convention, two sides in a regular 120 volt outlet. There's a hot side and a common side or a neutral side. And the hot side is where the switch is, where the circuit breaker is. Everything protects this side. And so the safety devices being all on this side, you don't want to put them in backwards because it's less safe that way. So these are made to only go in one way. But now, to make sure that this hot side matches the hot side inside the socket, which is by design made to be the deepest part where all this is connected to the common or the neutral, the hot side there needs to be connected with the hot side out here. And how do we know once we put it through the lamp which is which? This is cleverly made with a, now you can't see this I think on camera, but you can feel that there's a molded ribbed stripe on this side of the wire, and this side is smooth. And the molded side, which as you can see corresponds to the wider blade, which is the common side, is the neutral. On the socket then, the gold is the hot. The gold inside corresponds to the gold screw on the outside, and that corresponds to the hot and gold. And this gold part of the socket contacts the bottom of the light bulb, and the electricity goes through the filament or through the LED and back into the common side that's connected to this part of the socket. Usually I go with connecting all the hot things first. This is the hot side. I make a little hook, and that hook is made to fit around the screw. And just make sure that there's plenty of room for this hook in the wire to go around the screw, and it goes around like that. It goes around in the same direction that the screw tightens when I turn it this way. When I turn it clockwise, the screw tightens and it tends to pull the wire into the lamp, into the screw terminal. If I did it the other way, as I tightened, it would be pushing the wire out, so it just makes it a little bit harder and a little bit less secure. I'll make a little hook here, twist the end again if I have to, and wrap that. Oh, I need to open the screw a little bit. Wrap this onto that terminal. Screw that one down. One thing you may want to do, depending on if there's room in your socket, is to tie a little overhand knot, which just gives a little bit more what's called strain relief. That is, if the wire gets tugged from the bottom end, like if it gets knocked off a table, this knot will help keep the wire from trying to pull through the pipe. And it protects these screw terminals from having to resist a direct tug on them, which they can, but that's not what they're there for. They're really just there to make a good solid electrical connection. And they're not supposed to be hanging the whole weight of the lamp on anything. All right, so I have kind of a compact little knot there, and I'm going to now gradually, gently pull the slack through and seat the socket down into the base of the socket holder. I'm making sure that the stem of the switch is pointed at the hole in the lamp where the knob has to go in, and now that's kind of where it needs to be. The socket cover just has one mouse hole in this style, and that goes over that socket switch stem. And also, just note that it has a cardboard insulator in there. You don't want to forget that. Sometimes they come off in the box. Just make sure that insulator is in place before you put it in. And then I'll just snap that down into place. And as soon as that snaps all the way around, it's pretty good and secure. Pull out any excess here and put the knob back on the switch. Make sure that goes in there. And done. And this should be pretty much ready to go.